Hey everyone, I'm Katie Daryl, and today we are at home and social with Hanson. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Doing well.
Obviously, there's a new album on the way. There's a tour on the way. And the most important thing when I have a long conversation like this, I want our viewers up front who are doubting, why should we go out and why should we be paying attention to Hanson right now, out of the gates? What is new? What is special about the music now versus when they were first introduced to you almost like 25 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, 25 years later, so there's a lot of new things.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, first of all, live music. I mean, just from the point of view of performing, and I mean, live has always been important to us as a band. And one of the things, honestly, one of the things that's kept sort of the strength of the community. I mean, we get to play to fans all over the world. I mean, this tour has taken us to Europe, to Latin America, to US, and all over the place. And I think it comes back to that connection you make. And so we, there is a brand new album that's called Red, Green, Blue, and it features tons of new music. But ultimately, the thing that's incredible about why people should come is because the live experience, I mean, we've all seen for the last 2 years, like the hunger to be in the room and experience something together is like nothing else. So for us, it's like, it's not just what's new about Hanson, it's really just the fact that we need, the excitement of actually getting to experience being in the room and singing along with your people and the band that you're following. It's like it's something that can't be replicated, even though we love live streaming shows. Please tune into any live streaming shows. It's its own thing. It's nothing, we're just ready to really go out and see people and rekindle that fire,
Well, and that's something I noticed as well, because obviously preparing for this interview, I was watching a lot of videos and past interviews and stuff and making sure I was current on all things Hanson. And I did notice that. I mean, the people at the front of the stage are singing to every song. I don't want to call it that you're a cult band, but I mean, there are people that I bet there are some familiar faces where you're like, there they are again, because I could tell that they were dedicated fans.
We're proud of the fact that we've seen over the years many fans travel to multiple shows on tour and kind of they almost create these little friend groups that are the tour groups, like I'm going to go. And honestly, I think that's been a really big thing these last couple of years of not really having touring. All of our fans are going, man, I haven't seen one of my best friends in years, because we normally meet up in Chicago or we go to the show in LA, and this really now we're back. We're back.
I think the power of music too is it really does make people feel connected. I mean, you feel isolated oftentimes, especially all the stuff the world has gone through, this kind of like isolation exercise. And it really it reminds you you're alive. And I think a lot of the themes of our songs, there's a sense of optimism. It's not just everything's shiny, happy, but there is a sense of optimism. And so I think those things do come together.
Well, when you talk about Hanson over 25 years, I think honestly, this new project says a lot about what people may or may not know, right? And I think it's important to always tell different stories and make that relationship deeper and deeper and deeper. And at risk of tooting our own horn, I think part of what's special about our band is the differences between the red and the green and the blue, right? In this case, sort of signifying the brothers. And the fact that when you come to a show, when you hear sort of more of a Taylor song, more of an Isaac song, more of a Zach song, it's almost like you're getting three bands. We
three have for the price of one. You can't afford to miss this show, everyone, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we definitely have all these shared influences growing up together, playing on each other's songs, but also there's perspectives and there's style that kind of makes it unique, and I think that's an important part about who we are as a band and why we want to do this project that's coming out in May.
For those of you just joining us, we are at home and social with Hanson. Their new album is out in May. Tour dates have been set. The album is called Red, Green, and Blue. And this is a trifecta of sound, right? Because it is your three solo projects all put together and released as one. How did you decide the order in the playlist, right? Like, who gets to go first?
Well, we thought about Red, Blue, Green, and we realized people would think it was a Ruth Bader Ginsburg tribute album, which would have been kind of cool, but it just wasn't what we were going for.
Right, exactly.
So we
switched it really gone political.
Exactly. So as a little nerd moment, actually, RGB, Red, Green, Blue, is actually a color format. It goes back to tube televisions and graphic designers. Anyone who is in the art world knows that that's a color format. It happens to also be our childhood favorite colors,
yes,
which our fan base would know as well. But what we thought was interesting about it was there are three very unique colors, but three colors that together create a color format. And also it allows for us to say that there are differences and connectivity in this project. And so it was really kind of like a creative exercise that says, look, hey, what happens when Tay decides to just go and do stuff, and we can play on his stuff, but we're not his editor. We're not his producer, quote unquote. We are the supportive kind of band members that go, hey man, it's not my call, it's your call. And vice versa. And what happens, what things get brought out of that process for each one of us as individual artists, while still in some capacity working together on it. We're deliberately accentuating differences, not necessarily similarities.
Well, then that being said, when you're going out on tour, obviously there's a flow, there's a rhythm, right, with the song. So you don't want it to seem sporadic. You don't want to go from something, very pop, like from 2020's album, there was the song Don't Ever Change, and that's very pop. But then I remember on that album, Isaac, there was a tune you did that was very Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, Only Love.
Only Love.
Only Love, right. So, I mean, you don't want to disrupt the audience. So how do you balance the flow during the live performance?
Live shows.
Yeah, I mean,
we've done that for 25 years. You create an arc by connecting things. And
I think that this show will have a unique arc because of the nature of the actual album itself and kind of what we're trying to do. So there may be, we've yet to exactly finalize what the details of how the live show will flow. But I guarantee you it will both be things that people have seen before and things that people never expected or never knew to expect. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to accentuate the red elements, the green elements, the blue elements in the show, and then also kind of one big bow around the package, shall we say, as well.
I think the thing that really connects our songs is even the messaging, right? Stylistically, you might have Bruce Springsteen next to Cheap Trick, right? Which is kind of those two songs, this power pop next to this more sort of roots rock, and then you go to the next song and it's maybe sounds like Smashing Pumpkins, or it sounds like Queen, or it sounds like something like that. But it's the stories that we tell, I think, really bring it together. And then obviously the way we sing and the way we sing together is a sound that is like these roots network that brings all the songs and all their different parts kind of into one style that is a band.
Do you allow your audience to kind of dictate stuff as well? Like when someone starts screaming, "Let Taylor sing!" Like, do you find, okay, fine, let's pull in it, or more Isaac? Do you listen to that and do you participate?
You're not the boss of me, okay?
Someone would have to speak very loudly to have that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that broadly we do engage the audience. I mean,
absolutely.
We've done entire tours where we actually listed, sort of every song we could possibly play and let people vote on, themes and what songs would happen during the tour. But I mean, so much of what you're doing as a band, you are creating an experience. I mean, you're listening to the audience in a broader way by feeding off of the band, the fans in the room that night. It's not just a rote thing. And but also you're taking them on a journey. I mean, the thing that's incredible about songs is you have these little 3-minute movies, they're sort of their own little world. But live shows, you can pull things out of the timeline. I mean, a couple years ago, we did kind of a bucket list project with symphonies, where we put together a whole arrangement with an incredible composer we've known for years, David Campbell, and we got to play with symphonies all over the world. And it was an unbelievable undertaking. But we put songs that were 20 years old next to songs that had never been done before because of the lyric, because of the story. And so I think with a tour, you're always kind of doing that, where you're trying to basically take people along for a ride. I mean, you love Billy Joel, you want Billy Joel to play Piano Man, right? You're going to expect at some point that your thing's going to, oh, yes, I love this song. But as an artist, you've got to go out there and be excited. So you're excited to say, well, check this out.
See, I personally want him to play Tell Her About It. That's just me.
And Tell Her About It and a million other songs.
Time girl.
I saw Peter Gabriel once and he didn't do Sledgehammer. And I was like, this is bogus.
Well, yeah, it reminds me, sometimes people say, man, do you ever play shows without playing insert their favorite song, or insert like a song like Bop, which we're so known for? And my response is always, why would you, if you think people really want to hear it as a fan?
Why wouldn't you? Like, why would you
play a show without that song?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, because if people love that song, you want to play that song. And we're at the point we have so many albums and so many songs, every night you're always leaving something off the list. So as much as you can, you want to put as many of those highlights for people as possible. And obviously it's always about telling stories. So you're connecting new albums and old albums and hit songs and B-sides and kind of just making this tapestry.
Yeah.
For those of you just joining us, we are at home and social with Hanson. I'm Katie Daryl. They said it first, bop. We got to go there. Yeah, I mean, you brought it up, boys, or men. It's weird. I feel like a little girl, and I mean, neither of us have aged, and we don't have wrinkles. Bop came out in 1997, 10 million albums sold, #1 worldwide in so many countries at the same time. Thank God there wasn't social media though, right? Because man, the things people say today, and people weren't always nice to you. How did you deal with that?
Well, I want to say something on that. Yes, they were not nice to us, but that goes with the package of any success. And yeah, social media has inflated it, absolutely. But we saw for the first time the introduction of the internet. I mean, 25 years ago was really the beginning of that wave. Yeah. And on the positive side of things, I mean, we definitely had a lot of mostly high school age guys our age that were mad that their girlfriends were following the band.
They were haters because they were jealous.
Yeah, that's like human exist. I mean, that's like every band that's ever had a lot of girl fans. But
and, we had long hairs, so it didn't help that they had we made it easy for them.
Like,
you guys girls.
But it came back to the music. I mean, in the end, that's all that really sticks. It's like does it stick or not? And the thing that was amazing about we didn't have social media. We had, at that time, forums were being born and websites, and we saw how people were connected to each other. I mean, that was one of the most incredible things about our introduction to the world is we were among our peers, young teenagers. For the first time, an entire industry was just overlooking the web. And we were seeing where they were. Like we got to connect with people. It's why we've had an active online fan club where people are in a fan community consistently for 20 years, because that happened. So the silver lining with the internet is everybody does focus on how much negativity there is. Yes, there's a lot, but there's also a huge community forging thing that's happened.
Well, one thing that you guys are doing right now still to connect with your fans, the Scavenger Hunts. I love this idea. Break it down for our viewers.
Yeah, no, we do all kinds of things on Hanson.net, which is our website, and there's a huge community there. And one of the things we started doing with all this lockdowns, not being able to be together at concerts, was all these scavenger hunts, because there's 20 years of content on our website. And so we'll put up clues and things, and people will travel through. And there's a huge gamification to, I think, the positiveness of getting to show your fandom. Do you know what this means? Can you find the right post or song to listen to?
And then people post on message boards and things, hey, what is this clue? And people start passing around the information. And
we think it's really cool for people to be able to kind of put into the world the fandom that they have for something. And so that's been a big part of Hanson.net, is being able to see how many shows you've been to on a tour and put that on your profile and show people, kind of visualize that in a way that's almost collectible.
And there are pins and things like that are associated with finding the clues and all that.
Well, the Hanson tour will be kicking off this spring, and you all are fathers now. There's kiddos. How does the family play into your tour schedule? Will everyone be joining you, or do you have to say goodbye and go hit the road?
Well, I mean, it makes hiring a crew a lot cheaper.
Exactly.
Child labor is the best.
Like, I'm just going like,
you're 12, you can move cases, right?
My 14-year-old likes to play guitar. I'm just like, how about you not play guitar? Just 2 guitars, string them, and I'll pay you like pennies on the dollar.
The families don't all come just because there's a lot. I have 5 kids. Taylor has 7. Isaac has 3. So that's like a whole tour in and of itself. But it does affect the way we think about routing and making sure there's time at home. So a couple weeks on and a couple weeks off, kind of like that. And then whenever you can, I mean, you bring them out, especially to special places. I'll have conversations with my kids. Hey, where do you want to go on this tour? So that they can fly out and come out for a couple of days. And whether it's, I want to see that place or go to that museum or buy things at that shop, it's pretty.
It's a way to engage with the kids on things adventures that they could have. That is one of the privileges of our life is we travel, so they get to, in some way or another, be a part of that.
For those of you just joining us, I'm Katie Daryl. They are Hanson, and we are at Home and Social. The band is hitting the road this spring. Their new album, Red, Green, Blue. You guys make it easy for me because I just look at it behind you. Red, Green, Blue drops in May. You guys have already announced the 3 first singles. We've got Child at Heart, Write You a Song, Don't Let Me Down. This is an album that is basically 3 solo albums all combined. So each of those singles is one of your singles. Let's talk about one of the singles. Which one should we spout about first?
Talk about Child at Heart.
Well, so yeah,
It's
Child
the
at Heart
first
is
one that's coming
the
out.
first one, and talking about music is always strange. You'd rather just hear it.
Yeah, right.
But this
Hum
song,
it for me.
yeah, the song is kind of, this sort of kind of a Brit rock sort of feel to it. I mean, it's almost this. The song just continues to build on this message of really of kind of not losing hope. When you as you go into life, you start to close up, and things keep coming at you, and you get beaten down, and you sort of start going, well, maybe I'm not gonna open up, I'm gonna close up, and the whole theme of the song is sort of like, hey, even though these things are coming at you, like, don't lose hope, don't lose that purity, that childlike love, and that childlike giving yourself to things, taking chances, taking risks.
You mentioned keeping a positive attitude, and I want to go back to a story. Maybe it's a fable. I don't know. Correct us if I'm wrong here. But Bop dropped in 1997, massive hit. And then the rumor has it that between 2001 to 2005, you guys basically submitted to your label 80 at least different songs that were all rejected. How did you, A, is that true? And B, how did you stay positive? And C, where are those songs now?
Okay. Well, yeah. I'll interject. I will say it was a slightly more condensed period of time, which actually makes the 80 songs even more intense. It's actually from 2001 to 2003. And yeah, it was kind of a brutal experience. One thing I will say is, as a reference point, we submitted 20 songs for Middle of Nowhere and 20 songs for This Time Around. Those were the first 2 records, and those records did very well. So I'm only saying that to say that's part of the challenge of the context. And the reason was, honestly, it was record label mergers. We lost everybody that was involved in those early successes. And we were trying to kind of get our bearings with these folks and play ball and do the things that you got to do. And eventually we decided to start our own label because we could not spend 3 years in limbo without being able to connect with our fans and do the work that no one else could do but us.
So I think the thing about being in a band and standing on stage in front of an audience and sort of putting yourself out there, especially as writers, you're writing stories and saying, this is worthy of people being fans of it, is you have to develop kind of an unbreakable self-confidence. And so I think for us, it was very trying that time, making our 3rd album, seeing so much rejection. But of course, you've been through enough that you say, I know that it is not really me. It's the combination of me and whoever these other people are. And eventually you have to say, like, I'm going to make my own path. I'm going to go my own way. And that's really, I think, our story as a band can probably be encapsulated in that idea. Eventually you hit enough walls and you say, well, I'm just going to go around this. I'm just going to go around this. I'm going to find
is going to be a Frank Sinatra tribute album, and we're going to sing "I Did It My Way."
Yes.
Okay, that's what we're doing.
That's the next screen project.
I think and people can watch. If people can actually watch that story. We made a documentary, and it's called "Strong Enough to Break," and it tells that story. And one of the things that I think people forget. Anytime you see something successful, and I try and remember this because I admire so many people that have done interesting things, not necessarily musicians, but most people that see somebody successful just have this assumption that they've just sort of arrived there, and people even get, envious or jealous of like, oh, look at that person. But, if you've done anything, you doing your interview today, if you succeeded as with a business, as a musician, you've probably heard no a whole lot more than you've heard yes. And I think that's
like to the tune of about 1,000.
That's the thing that I think people forget is, on our album number 3, the challenge we faced then was a label that wasn't even our label. And our decision ultimately was, instead of forging ahead and like 10 years before that, or less than 10, when 30 labels turned us down to sign us, we kept pushing. We got signed eventually, right? In this case, this label turned us down a lot more than 30 times, and our decision was to start our own record company and forge ahead. So it's almost like, you know, the message that we've tried to put out there with our audience is like, hey guys, you know, do you hear yes every day? You know, no, you don't. You hear a lot more no.
No, you
So,
don't.
you don't. We're gonna
No, in fact, I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
so stick to it. I mean, and that's really the journey. Like that's what we're all trying to get to, is what, you know, sticking to stuff you
I
believe in.
think now I'm going to launch an Instagram feed that's just completely the opposite of motivational speaking. It's like, listen,
No,
you
Demotivational
You're
speaker.
just failure everywhere. You're just part of it today.
exactly.
you're just phoning it in today.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna be here to just give you your pre lickings right now. Just
Well, you guys, thank you so much for chatting with me today. The new album from Hanson is called Red, Green, Blue. The first single off it is on the horizon. It's called Child at Heart, and the band will be touring, hopefully. I mean, their meteors could be falling soon. So unless asteroids hit next, the band is hitting the road, and tickets are available now. Hanson.net, right?
That's
That's
us.
right. Yeah.
All right, you guys, thanks so much for your time, and stay safe, all right?
thanks
You
for having
too.
us.
Thanks.
Hey there, thanks for watching Access TV. Subscribe, follow, like, and do all the good stuff. And make sure you leave a comment below. I don't know, just let us know what your favorite Access TV show is, or who your favorite bands are, and what artists you're into, or just say hi, man. I'd like to be told hi. We love hearing from you. That's the point, all right? Keep it coming.